Coming to you from Chicago, Illinois, this is episode 14 of the Night Show podcast with special guest, Miss Serena Fox. Stay tuned. Night Show.
Oh, best friend in the whole wide world. I'm
Best
good.
friend in the
How are
whole-
you?
I am awesome. Thank you for this.
Oh, of course.
This is very much in line to what I really wanted to do for the whole show.
Okay.
Like just talk about a lot of you're good, you're healthy, you're happy, but at one point you weren't. And there's the voyage I think that we all go through, and I think your story, your life, could help some folks bypass going through some BS, and I think it's very important, and I'm glad that you agreed to share.
Of course.
Okay.
I am super nervous, but
It's fun. I'm here with you. If you need to hold hands, we can sing Kumbaya, do all that stuff.
I don't think we need to go that far. But,
I mean,
I appreciate it.
maybe I want to sing Kumbaya. Okay.
Yes, I do agree that listening to people's stories, like I'm not at the point fully where I think I can do what I want to do to provide women guidance, but I
Right.
think I'm on that journey so I can kind of help them. My end goal is to be able to provide them what they need after the fact, because there's
Okay.
a lot of places like that I was reaching out to that I got to stay at that was like the beginning part, but the after fact, when you leave someone who's very abusive and is like completely torn you down, then what do you do once you've kind of gotten out of that? There's still that aspect of it when you're done with it all.
Yeah.
And so I don't think, maybe I just haven't encountered it, but I don't feel like you have that after. It's just to get you through it, and then that's it. So.
Okay. So, I guess walk us from the beginning. Like.
Okay. So I met someone who I knew since I was 18, on and off here and there.
Right.
There were signs that there was a lot of jealousy, but a lot of times we take that as, oh, he loves me, like he's just jealous, that kind of thing. There were a few red flags. We got married, and so a couple years into our relationship, it became extremely controlling to where there's small things that you don't recognize when you're outside of it. There was physical abuse, and that's like an obvious sign, like, okay, this person's abusive.
Right.
But getting out of that marriage, I realized that it wasn't just that. It was financial, it was emotional, it was verbal. But the physical one is just one thing that's very obvious that you have to cover it up. But
Right.
if it's the other things, they're masks, and you know how to. I became a very good actress. Like the outside world thought everything was good when we were outside. So I think there were plenty of times when I tried to leave, and a lot of people say, okay, so why didn't you leave when you're dealing with all this? But there were a few attempts when I tried, and it's actually easier to stay. And it sounds like crazy, but the less you have to deal with. If you stay in that situation and they think everything's good, then you don't really have to deal with as much mess.
Okay.
But when they see that either you're trying to leave or you are trying to fight back or something, your life becomes hell. So you just have to figure out what is it that you want at the moment, or if you're even ready to leave.
Right.
And that's the biggest question. People are like, well, why didn't you leave? And that's the, I guess, simple answer to that.
I feel like I've been in situations where somebody who I've been with and been in a romantic relationship with, she's resorted to threats of doing like self-harm in order to like manipulate me into staying into a situation. Did you see any, like,
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
So I can completely understand. There were times where I wanted to leave, and it was like, I'm so sorry, I'll just kill myself. And I did leave, and I got those messages like, I'm hurting myself, I'm gonna kill myself if you don't come back. And so you deal with that, like, do I want to deal with that on my hands?
Right.
But unfortunately, after a while, you just have to recognize it's not real.
Yeah.
That this person is not, it's just empty threats.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's something that's like, for a person who has a big heart, it's kind of hard to just like leave somebody out there like that, because it just seems as if like, oh, I'm abandoning this person. What if they really do? They obviously have something wrong with them, and then you feel like the guilt and like the remorse for if they actually did do something to themselves. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's not your fault that they are the way that they are, and it takes a long time to kind of like come to terms with it.
It does, especially when you have a big heart, because you think about it, like, if I'm the cause of what happens, can I live with myself?
Yeah.
But people make their own choices, and just because a relationship fails and someone were to do that, unfortunately, it wouldn't be your fault.
Yeah.
It definitely wouldn't be.
Yeah. Who did you have to become in order to like maintain that relationship? Like what did it take for you to like stay in that space, to keep like the peace in that household?
I think learning how to manipulate that person in the situation, making them think that everything's okay.
Yeah.
Even when in the back of your head you're like planning to leave.
Yeah.
The last thing they can't see that, so you have to play the part.
Yeah.
You have to become a great actress, like, in order to survive, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, you have to lie to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I can get through this, just this amount of time. If I can just do this. So you like talk yourself into remaining in that relationship until the time comes.
Yeah. What was like um what was the moment for you where you were just like, I'm out of here. Like it's done. Like I'm gone.
So we've had encounters where it would be on the weekends or times where I didn't have to work, and he would take my car keys, cell phone, that kind of thing away from me, so I would have no power to get out, lock the doors, that kind of thing. So I ran into that on a weekend, and I said I was going to a party, and he's like, "You're not going to this party." Took my car keys, everything, and I got paid that day. So I told him that my best friend owed me money, and I was just gonna go get it from him, and it would get it from her. And so to me, it was just my way of escaping. I was like, first I said I was gonna go get coffee. He's like, "Well, I'm gonna go get coffee with you." I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm also going to my friend's house. We got paid today. She owes me money. I just wanted to get out of the house." He's like, "Well, I'm coming with you. No funny business, that kind of thing." And up until this point, I was like preparing myself to leave, like packing things slowly, little by little. I had a plan in my head, but I already saw where this weekend was going, that he was already getting to that, like, we need to spend time. I knew it was going to become very controlling. He would follow me to my closet and like kind of corner me there, and he did that at that moment. And at that moment, I said, I just can't do it anymore. I didn't want another weekend like this. So I went to my friend's house and called the police, and he was sitting in my car, and the police went out there to talk to him. And he had my purse and everything, and they were like, "Okay, we'll just give her purse. You can sit in the car," because we were married. The car was in both of our names. And just a 5-minute conversation, the police came to me in my friend's house and said, "Hey, we can't tell you what to do, but it's this is a Saturday. I would leave if you need to. We can take you to the house. We can get whatever you need, escort you, get your stuff out, and then Monday go get an order of protection and leave him."
Yeah.
And this is after a 5-minute conversation with him.
Yeah.
So they already saw like exactly how he was.
Yeah. I mean, I've had buddies, male and female, and seen their significant other really not even give a fuck that I was there and like put hands on them, and I'm just like,
that's when you know that it's even worse when you're not there.
yeah. And it's just like, shit, man. And I'm like looking at them, and it's like, oh, let's just leave. And I'm just like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck? What is
are you
this
supposed to do in that situation?
Who's out here just playing PlayStation, and all of a sudden it just turned to WWE, but like in real life. And I'm just like, you got to get out of this, man. Like you gotta and it's just, it's crazy what we do for love.
Yeah.
And it's crazy what we'll do to like keep somebody else safe, especially if you have like a really big heart. Like you'll risk your own health and well-being, mental, emotional, psychological, physical, financial, to try and like keep a peace in a situation. But I mean, there's a lot of toughness in that, man, because it's like it's hard to get out of those situations.
Yeah.
Especially if you're married to somebody. It's different like if you're just dating them.
Yeah, when you're married, you have to go through a lot more obstacles to deal with.
Yeah.
Actually fully leaving that person.
Oh, yeah.
And they know that.
Yeah. And it's because it's not like you just, I'm just going to walk away. Like, I'm just like, going to change my number and freaking get a new
Yeah, if it's like a
apartment.
relationship, you probably could just do that.
Yeah.
But if it's a marriage, yeah, courts are involved. Everything's involved. You still are their spouse.
Yeah.
And that's how people see you. Yeah, so it becomes a different type of situation.
Yeah. Like, the manipulation that existed, like, did you see like how with like for his friend group, like how were they towards you? Like, did they see any of this going on? Did they
well, at a certain time, the type of people he was hanging around with, I didn't want to associate with.
Okay.
I did, and we'd go out, and the type of stuff they were doing, I just left. I would just leave them. one of our mutual friends got to actually see what was going on, and he no longer speaks with him, but he saw it firsthand and was just kind of in shock about it. I think at first people are in shock because if you act like everything's okay and then this happens, they kind of maybe think, oh, is this the one time thing that's happened?
Right.
Or is this something that's been going on? Because it's not something you go around and talk about and say, oh, this is what happens to me all the time.
Right.
So I think a lot of shock happens with friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of women have to put this facade on to like keep the social veneer like up prim and proper and making it look like it's all good. Like at my interview with my mom, like she was talking about, you know, her relationship with her ex-husband and how like it was very social, like psychologically and emotionally abusive, and it led to us like, and it was very very much a toxic situation, and he would manipulate her on like various levels to the point where it was just like he would if I was going out of town to go see my grandparents or hang out with my dad, you know, he would say shit to her like um you know, Steven doesn't really love you. That's why he hasn't contacted you since he left. Like, if he really cared about you, you know what I'm saying? If you really the mom you think you are, he would have called you. Meanwhile, I'm on some like, slip and slide, having a good time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Of course I care about my mom. Like, you know what I'm saying? And she knew this, but like when you're dealing with somebody who's that manipulative, they'll do whatever it takes. And
they know where to hit you.
Yeah, they know where to hit you. They'll hit you at the weakest point because for her, a mom, 2 kids, trying to raise it by herself, and then finding like what she thought was a good husband. Like she was trying to keep a stable and a functional family together. So I get why she would stay, and it's like it's fucked up what men do, what women do, but just right now for what we're talking about right now, it's fucked up what men do. Putting women into precarious situations and putting them in a vulnerable state where like you guys are just like you guys are stuck.
Yeah, and they know when to do it. I think those type of men know, okay, we're at this point of our relationship, you're kind of stuck, so I know at this point I can manipulate you and I can hit you where it hurts, or I can threaten you if you try to leave, that this will happen to you,
right?
That kind of thing.
Right. You get.
For example, with yeah, he went through a lot too. That's what he's.
I hate you, Snoop.
He's
Snoop's
trying
like,
to chime
I'm saying
in.
something else. What happened? Like, oh shit, Snoop. What you?
Yeah, that was another like way to try to hurt me, was with him, to grab him and throw him against the wall, like that kind of stuff.
Little Snoop.
Yeah, because they know that was my heart.
Yeah.
They know where to get you. With my line of work, if I have any sort of domestic violence, cops called on me or anything, I can lose my job.
Yeah.
So unfortunately he knew that. So anytime I would threaten to call the cops, it was like, well, you can call the cops. I'm going to tell them you did it first and you're going to lose your job. And I just started a career. So it's like those things that, I know were like what to do to get to you. Yeah. So like that was a time where I'm just starting my new career and I'm like, the last thing I want is have to go to work and say I got called for domestic violence and it was put on me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if women do it, a lot of times they don't believe it. But if they were, there goes my career.
Right.
And he was very manipulative to anybody, like, and very charismatic. So I think he could probably tell a pretty good lie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I could see that. So that caused me not to call the cops. And then whenever I was put in the hospital for his abuse, I just made up whatever, because I didn't want him to throw that back on me for my career, which of course, looking back at it now, is like, who cares about your career? Right. But if it's something that you work for, that you want to fight for, that, once I leave him, I need this, then you're going to be like, okay, I need to figure out another way to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So take me to like, you're done. You separated. Like, it must have been very difficult for you to try and bounce back, to like try and figure out who you were outside of that relationship, because you were married for a couple of years.
Yeah. Married for 7 years, together for 14. So being together so young with him.
Yeah.
Actually, it's been like almost 3 years, and I'm still trying to figure out who I am. So I think I'm slowly getting there.
Yeah, man. Like you seem healthy as shit, man.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, definitely. I'm definitely in a better place.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
But I think you still continually have to learn yourself, because I think, I mean, I don't know if there's any equation, but dealing with so many years of abuse, I feel like you're gonna have to take even more time depending on what you went through to actually fully get through that. Definitely made me stronger.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess negatively, it's hard for you to trust people.
Yeah.
Because he was great in the beginning. Unfortunately, I can say like very charismatic personalities are kind of a red flag for me sometimes.
Yeah, I can
So I'm like,
understand that.
what are you hiding back there?
Right. What's going on? What you got going? What
Yeah.
you got brewing,
Are you
big
just
fella?
gonna be like this now,
Yeah.
or But yeah, I did realize, like, probably a year after I left, that I did definitely not want this to go to waste. Like, I wanted to be able to help women, and I still haven't figured how I'm gonna do that. But I think I need to just get myself fully, what's the word? Fully understand who I am, where I fit in, my life, and build my life to where when the questions come to me, because I'm still going through that process, that I want to fully get there. I don't know if we ever fully get there, but I want to get to the point where if women ask me questions, I can honestly answer them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a lot of resources for the beginning. And now when I'm like financially dealing with stuff, bankruptcy, this kind of stuff, there's really there's not resources out there. Like when you try to look up things, is there something that can help you? And it's kind of like, if you make so much money, there's nothing we can do for you.
Okay.
And so it's like, I would like to be that person even after that.
Yeah.
To follow up with them.
Yeah, just kind of like, walk somebody through the process of just like creating a new you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think kind of like, people will go through, like drug addicts that go through,
like
AA.
or AA.
They have like sponsors.
Right.
Like for me, it was like I had people that showed up to court when he violated order protection and I had to see him. And they showed up for court and was like, okay, we're here for you. I've never met them before. And then they were done with me. And it was like, oh, I'm so sorry, this happens. And then that was it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like anyone that would reach out to you afterwards. How are you feeling about this?
Yeah.
Nothing. But they were court appointed, so.
Right.
So.
Yeah, trying to have somebody who's like more of an advocate for you throughout the process.
Yeah, or like if you, for example, one of my friends just went to the emergency room. They have like follow-up phone calls.
Yeah.
They give you like a person to follow up with afterwards.
Right.
I didn't feel like I got that to say, okay, now that this happened, what are you going to do? That kind of thing. It was just like, do you want to get another order of protection? An order of protection, you have to get delivered yourself. So you have to coordinate it. So it's not really helpful.
Right.
Especially living somewhere away from that person that tells you, okay, this is where this person lives. And then you have to contact them pretty much to find out where they are to have it delivered to them.
Right.
So that doesn't really help.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, your options are like find like a private detective or something, and then figure out that way, which is still money out of your pocket to like keep somebody out your life that's toxic.
Exactly.
And yeah, that's a fucking process, man. I think there's got to be some like some avenues out there to help men and women, especially women, because I mean I've recently seen some like very violent behavior from some individuals in my friend group, and it required the police getting involved.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, she was like, she said, what am I supposed to do? I was like, do you want this to keep being your normal? It's like, no. It's like, then you need to do what you got to do, because like this motherfucker's not going to stop until you like make it hard for him to interact with you. And if he violates his order of protection, he can go to jail. And but it's sad that like that you have these boys out there masquerading as men, just violating women, especially physically. I just can't. I can't like understand like how you can get to a point to like actually put your hands on a woman.
Yeah,
like,
it's just those type of people don't know how to walk away.
Yeah.
From something, because we all get angry, and if we just keep going forward and forward, it's gonna happen.
Right.
But most of us can step back and be like, look, I'm mad, I don't even want to talk right now. I'm just walking out. I'm just gonna walk away from the situation. Even when you get mad at someone, like a friend, a coworker, you're like, okay, I'm just gonna walk away. But those people just don't, And then it becomes a pattern where that does happen, and then they are the nicest people after. Like, it just becomes like, oh, okay. Not that it makes it right, but when you deal with that, it's like, okay. Either they try to win you over by doing stuff, buying you things, whatever. Um, yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, that's the only way I can describe it. Yeah, I do feel like at the end, I didn't realize that his father was also abusive.
Right.
I had no idea, and that was brought to me by him. That that's what was happening. So I do feel, not that that makes it better what he did.
Yeah. Or excuses his behavior
Doesn't
at all.
excuse it,
Yeah.
but that would have been something nice to know in the beginning.
Right.
If you're angry, then maybe you should go to anger management, do
Yeah.
something.
Especially if you were, born and raised in
And you
it,
saw
and
that.
you saw that, and that was your normal growing up.
Yeah.
Like, you carried that around. Either you carried it around to the point where it's just like you don't want any parts of any type of physical violence in a relationship, or you repeat
Yeah.
that behavior. And I mean, if it's the latter, then it takes a lot of work and a lot of just acknowledging your own shit to be like, all right, I can't. I gotta go see a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go talk to somebody. I gotta work this shit out because I can't, be my dad. I can't be who my mom was or whoever
Yeah.
that was that you were seeing, like, being abusive in a relationship. Like, you can't keep that shit going, man.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think pride plays a part into it too. Like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I'm not going to be this person.
Yeah.
But we do mimic what we see
Yeah.
and what we've learned, unless we know how to deal with it.
Yeah, man. Like, and that's a lot of things that it's one of the things that I definitely wanted to work with. We had like a men's retreat not too long ago, and we talked about like healthier coping mechanisms for just like the shit
Mm-hmm.
that we've gone through. And it's one thing to just like get upset and just throw a shirt across the room or like do some
Yeah.
like shit. It's like, come on, man, like just raise
Mm-hmm.
your voice a little bit, but like when you're like breaking shit, when you're tearing up your house, when you're disrespecting your home, when you're just, disrespecting your woman or you disrespecting your man or whatever it is, it's like you're the problem at
Yeah.
that point. Like, even if they upset you, even especially if they upset you and this is your reaction,
Mm-hmm.
folks need to learn how to, and that's something like I think that just not just necessarily in relationships. I think humans in general just need to learn how to disagree with each other a lot more respectfully.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just something that we have to teach one another. It's just gonna take a while for us to actually like fucking pay attention and like really prioritize that. So it's just like, okay, like we can't be walking out here and treating each other like, we can just step on one another or we own people. Like
That's the
that's not
biggest
human.
thing. In relationships like that, they don't feel like you're in a relationship. They feel like they literally own you.
Mm.
Like you are literally their property and you're not going anywhere. And I dealt with that when I tried to leave, and when I did leave, it was like it didn't matter that I left or any thoughts he had that I was with anyone else. It was like, you're mine and this is it. So that kind of thing. And when you're driven by that, it doesn't matter what you do to the person because
Yeah.
they're just property. No
Yeah.
longer do you see him as like, oh, this is my wife, this is the love of my life, I need to treat her this way. No, you're just property. And so if you, I don't know, piece of property that someone tries to steal from you, you're not going to treat like a person.
No.
So I think that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it is just like uh lack of self love in a sense. I think
Yeah.
a lot of it, like, it stems from, I mean, outside of just, uh, especially in your situation, like him growing up in a home where he was
Mhm.
surrounded by violence. I mean, you never really get a chance to like really find out who you are because you're just like
Yeah.
constantly in like this
Mhm.
predator prey fucking situation. Like, your mind is always stuck in this like you didn't have control of your childhood. So now as an adult, what you do is try and control the person that you're with to the point where you feel as if you own them.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's their cross, that's their burden that they gotta carry. But I mean, no one needs to stay in a situation where they're being violated, disrespected, stepped
No.
on, and made feel less
No.
than.
And even though it's hard to leave, it just sometimes you just have to
Yeah.
just do it.
And honestly, it's like sometimes it's the only way that person can actually see that, they're messed up.
Mhm.
Like, they're the problem. That's the only way that they see that you have to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who knows? They might actually get their shit together and
Mhm.
figure it out and end up, being with somebody and being happy and this, that, and the other, and you should want that for them.
Yeah.
Because the person that they are stuck in whatever that loop is, being destructive and being possessive, controlling, like no one deserves to be treated that way. Nobody should be living their life that way. It's fucking terrible.
Yeah, and when you have a big heart and you really love somebody, you do wish that for them.
Yeah.
That they can get over it and actually truly love someone. But in the back of your mind, you're not sure if that's even possible. But I mean, if they could, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, you want to love them, you want to make sure that they're good, but from a distance.
Oh, very, very far away.
I hope you all the best player, but from over
not
there.
At all connected to my life.
Yeah, exactly.
The crazy thing though, like I've realized that after dealing with that I do kind of mimic the same things, like try to be controlling of my life now even more with certain things. So I have to like step back to like having no control to like, okay, this is my life. I got to control everything, and I tend to get angry and that kind of thing because of having lost control for so long.
Yeah.
So it's like a vicious cycle. Even to the person who is victimized, it still goes through that.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that with myself. So that's one negative thing that I need to work on after that.
But I mean, it's cool though, like, cause you're actually being self-aware enough to like realize that like that's something that was birthed from that situation. It's like, oh, okay, I need to fix this, and I know where this came from.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, because you see that and you're like, okay, I'm doing the right thing, but no, not really. You're kind of doing the same thing.
But I mean, it's cool, man. Like, you're on your journey, you're on your path. You're trying to heal, you're trying to be a better person, and I mean, as long as it's you have your friend network. You can reach out to folks. You can hit me up if you want to. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate it.
Send me a text.
Like, this is what I'm dealing with. Yeah, we kind of had a few conversations about that.
So, yeah, man. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're healthy.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the path to being completely happy. Yeah. I am definitely a lot happier, even though I'm dealing with a lot of stuff financially. You deal with a lot of stuff after.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Emotionally, financially, just in your head.
Yeah.
Just anxiety. I've had hard time sleeping. And I have to just look back and remind myself, like, you're alive.
Yeah. And that's nothing light either. That's not something to take lightly.
Yeah, I got to the point where I attempted to take my life because of him. So the fact that I'm here, living, that's like my motto. I just want to live life to the fullest, no matter what it is, no matter what I'm dealing with. I have to remind myself of that. But just being alive and healthy and happy and not having to deal with that, all these other little things, I'll get through it.
Yeah, I mean, give yourself permission to fail, to fall down, to like, not to be imperfect. Like, none of us are fucking perfect, and you went through a rough ass time. So like,
and I think you deal with that too. For me, growing up where divorce is not an option.
Yeah.
That it did make me feel like a failure, which is the craziest thing, because like actually getting through it makes you not a failure.
Exactly. Like getting out of it is just like, oh no, I didn't quit. I just knew.
Yeah.
Like, you just like, oh, I'm better than this. Like, I'm worth more than this.
Yeah, it's not like a normal divorce where, okay, I'm tired of you, I'm just going to divorce you. Right. Like, that might be giving up, but leaving someone like that is not giving up. But to me, like, that was always instilled in me. You don't get a divorce. So that was a big thing, too, that probably made me still stay a little bit longer than I should have. But
I can understand that. Like, folks want to make it work. They want to, like, do everything. They want to make sure they're like, I tried everything.
Yeah.
I stayed, and they're like, you didn't need to try everything.
Yeah.
Like,
in that situation, you never need to try everything.
You don't need to try everything. Like,
in a normal marriage, okay, you arguing, you should try everything if you want to make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah, I'm glad you figured it out, man. Because I mean, there's a lot of folks who unfortunately weren't able to.
Yeah, and there's a lot of women that don't survive it too.
Yeah.
So seeing that, and then looking at that online, how many women don't survive domestic violence, is also a reminder that there's a lot of them that don't survive it. So
well, I appreciate the fuck out of you, man.
I appreciate you too.
Thank you for sitting down with me.
Of course.
I don't want to like hold you up, so
no
woo, Serena. Thanks, man.
Well, thank you, because I always get nervous like talking, and then of course I can really hear myself.
But I know, right? It's a little weird, like
it
hearing
is.
your voice.
I'm like,
was like, this is what I sound like? Yes.
That's exactly what you sound
exactly
like.
how I sound.
But yeah, anything I can ever do to help other women out, and I'll definitely do it.
Yeah. I think in this journey, man, it's just like trying to do this show. I think that's been one of my things. I want to make it to the point where I can like create this network so that everybody can help one another heal.
That's awesome.
You know, regardless of where they are.
Talking about it actually makes you heal. I didn't think it was a legit thing, but I was talking to a friend of mine and was like, okay, after today, don't talk about it anymore. But I did say I was going to talk to you in this podcast. Mm-hmm. So I promised that Tuesday I'd stop talking about it. But then I was like, you know what? This is a big part of the healing process. That I can talk about it nonchalantly sometimes. Yeah. It's like you release it every time you talk about it. Yeah. Yeah,
like I talk about like my depression all the time, very loosely to people. I was like, yeah, man, I went a little too fast on that bridge at one time. Got a little spicy, got a little dicey one day. But I was like, nah, I gotta figure this shit out, man. I gotta figure this shit out. And I found a different drive, a different reason to get up in the morning, a different way to like deal with my bullshit.
And talking about it, you'd be so surprised. I've talked about it to people and they're like, oh my God, I went through that too.
Right.
Or my friend went through that. Thanks for talking about it right now. And you're like, oh wow. Yeah. Or and a lot of people don't even say anything.
Yeah. And like sometimes they're just like they'll just take it in and they might be going through it and they just might not be ready to talk about it. Yeah. But like that might save their life. Mm-hmm. That might save somebody else's life. Like who knows? Yeah. You know, just being bold enough to like talk about what's going on, some real shit. It's not all freaking potpourri and incense and you know all the good shit. You know what I'm saying? Like there's dirt out there, and we should talk about it. We should expose it. We shouldn't sweep it under the rug.
We should, but we don't. So it's good when you're able to talk about it. You never know who you can touch. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you
for letting all the listeners know what's going on, and I hope that I hope you have the best and the most beautiful journey, and you become this big beautiful butterfly.
Oh, I love butterflies. That's actually how I refer to myself.
How did I know? I know. How did I know?
Yes. Yeah, butterflies are amazing creatures, especially what they come out of. So.
Exactly, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a whole metamorphosis,
Yeah, definitely.
They say pressure makes diamonds. So like, here you are.
Definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Serena.
All right.
Okay. Nice joke. See, that was bad.
No, it wasn't bad.
Thanks for watching and listening. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Doing so allows for more content and for better branding. Thanks again. Night Show.